Okay, so there's a question here about the Merkabah. How does the Merkabah enter into this consciousness? Okay, so there is, how do I say this? There's a lot of agendas being played out within the consciousness of humanity because we are so vast, and because there is this interdimensional galactic transgalactic empire at play, as a power game, that a lot of souls are interested in playing in. Okay, so it's not good, bad, right, or wrong. A lot of souls are interested in playing in it. I'm just saying, from the perspective of being in this human form, that because of our perceptions, we are a bit vulnerable to that particular agenda, to those agendas that express themselves through sacred geometry. For example, there is so much controversy about the Merkabah in the idea of which direction should it be spinning. Some say both the upper and lower triangle should be spinning counterclockwise. Some say both of them should be clockwise. Some say the top one should be clockwise and the bottom one should be counterclockwise. And some say even the opposite of that. And what I'm here to tell you is that the way that that particular geometry spins has everything to do with the levels of consciousness and the kinds of universes you are tuning into. Okay. And that is something that is a bit of a rabbit hole, but it's also, I'm just going to say this out loud so you guys have it, is also purposely put in place like that, with that perspective, to manipulate. Okay. Now, if you look closely, and I did a little bit of study with this because I was trying to figure out why I had such an aversion to the teachings of the Merkabah, because I've had that aversion ever since I was in my teens. So I was introduced to this stuff very young, and particularly through the Vedic teachings. Okay, so the Vedic teachings go back. Well, the book itself is like over 5,000 years old, but the stories within the book go back 10,000 years, 15,000 years, 40,000 years, you know, and this is something that always bugged me. Like, why in the world does that land like that for me? And then I worked directly with Drunvalo, who is really big on the Merkabah teachings, right? And the Sacred Heart teachings. But so later, way later, in his journey of these teachings, because he came out with the Flower of Life teachings. I don't know if you guys know this. It's a series of videos. It's old school, right? Came out in the 90s. I think it was the 90s. Yeah, I'm positive it was the 90s. Anyway, and way later, like 30 years, I don't know, 20 years later, some time has passed of many people being exposed to those teachings and doing the Merkabah work. We're saying that there's something, there's something that's off. There's something that's not right. And later he came out and said, well, yeah, because that was an artificial Merkabah. That was an artificial construct, and it was not organic. Now, I know we're having difficulties with terminology right now in this transition of multidimensional understanding. So the words artificial and organic aren't quite as descriptive as they need to be to accurately talk about this, but they're the words I have. So Drunvalo, oh, he's a great teacher, don't get me wrong. I mean, yeah, really interesting fellow. I learned so much about him, from him, especially in regards to geometry. Like, for example, the sacred mean, the Fibonacci sequence, that spiral is specific to a particular reality. There are other means. There are other Fibonacci sequences. There are other sequences that are like the Fibonacci. There are different ratios. When that unfolds within life, it does unfold here on this planet, which tunes that being into a completely different universe, yet is walking around on this planet. How's that possible? Right? That's an excellent thing to contemplate. How is that possible if they are tuned to a completely different universe, but we are sharing the same 3D space on this planet? that is worth that's worth deep contemplation, folks. That's going to open you up to some excellent ideas that are going to free you from a lot of teachings of this planet that kind of keep us confined to a particular reality. Okay, but if you look at if you study, or in the study of the Merkabah even closer, there's a geometry within the Merkabah, and that geometry, I have such a deep resonance with it. As soon as I saw it and realized it, I realized that I know that shape. I know that shape so deeply, and it's like that's the home feeling I had. I had a belonging feeling when I looked at that shape, and that shape is the I think it's called a star tetrahedron. That's when you have 2 4-point pyramids that have four a base of 4, and they're together like this, so it looks like a diamond. That geometry is and that's the center of the Merkabah. Okay, and when it's oscillating, there's no when it's the oscillation feels completely different. It doesn't matter if it's going what we would perceive clockwise or counterclockwise. It feels like it has the same center point. That's to me. Okay, so in that I actually learned from a Celtic medicine woman. It's like, where'd that come from? But the Celts, there's a lot of deep mystery school teachings within that discipline, or school of thought, I should say, that are really activating for us, because many of us are descendants. We have ancestors in the Celtic lands, from that culture. So that's my long story about Merkabah, engaging with the Merkabah.